All right, it is late night AJ back again, reminiscing on the grand old times of playing one of my favorite decks in all of One Piece throughout my few years of playing it, and that is Red Purple Law. This leader came out towards the end of set four in the Three Brothers, or the Three Captains, I'm sorry, starter, which is starter deck 10. Um, as soon as I saw that this got spoiled online at the time, I just knew that this leader was going to be somebody that I really enjoyed playing. Um, and that is purely because of the leader effect is so good. Um, the designers clearly did not understand what they were printing when they printed this card. And this deck suffered from success in getting support cards printed for it every single set. Unintentionally, they were made for other decks that were being printed with the sets, so as they released. Uh, but he just kind of took their cards and then became the best deck in the game because he was using all of the best cards that were printed for these decks over like three or four consecutive sets, basically. So, what is his leader ability? It is Dawn -3, so you have to return three of your mana resource to put one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less to the bottom of their deck. And I will say that bottom of the deck is one of the best forms of removal in One Piece because it gets around things like can't be KO'd because it's not KOing it, it's putting it into a different area. Then, on top of getting to remove one of your opponent's characters as if that wasn't already good enough, you play a 4 cost character or lower from your hand for free, essentially. So, just a very, very stacked leader ability. It pushes the pace of the game to the absolute fastest as it can go, while also tempoing your opponent and essentially dumping its hand to maintain control over the board for the first 4 turns, 5 turns of the game, roughly, and trying to just end the game within those 4 or 5 turns through very aggressive creatures, having lots of bodies on board to swing with, etc. So that's the core function of the deck and how it was designed. This is as the deck showed up in set 5. So this is a couple weeks after the set release, or after the deck came out. A new set released, which was the first anniversary set, OP5. With that set, this deck used mostly some promos that were a little hard to acquire at the time, and then it got 2 cards printed in the actual OP5 set, which was this Eustace Captain Kid, which just says whenever a Dawn from your field is returned to your Dawn deck, you get to get 1 Dawn back from your Dawn deck as active. So it essentially makes all of your Dawn minus effects 1 cost cheaper because you're immediately getting that Dawn back. And it comes back as active, so you can use it. Um, so Kid is a very good card. Immediate 4 of for the deck. Then you have this Zoro Juro. So if you have 3 or less life, you can add up to 1 Dawn deck from your deck and set it as active every time he attacks. Uh, and he's great because he's only 3 Dons, so you can play him going first or second, and that was a big problem that this deck had. Initially, it was terrible if it was going first because you couldn't ramp on your first turn, which was key to getting your leader ability to start going. So the deck is built in 2 halves, basically. You have your ramp cards that fuel your leader effect, so it makes it so you're still able to play cards on your turn, and you're not just losing all of your Dawn to your leader effect. Because you only get 2 Dawn a turn, every time you -3, you're actually setting yourself back 1 Dawn. So you got to be careful about that. That is why we run so many characters in this deck that add a Dawn back. It makes that leader effect go even for the turn. If you only play 1, and there's certain here that will give you 2, and if you stack it with a kid, now you're talking about getting 2 off of every single use, and you're still actually gaining a Dawn every turn. Um, those characters are things like Ein, which just lets you get a Dawn from your deck and play it on play. So you're wanting to play this card with your leader effect, usually. You're not wanting to pay for it. You're wanting this card to come out for free to help pay for your leader ability and give you a body to swing with. Sachi and Penguin is a defensive counter card. That is amazing for your first couple turns of the game. So if you get really low on Dawn, specifically 3 or less, he adds 2 Dawn back. If you pair that with a kid, you literally just got a character out for free while removing one of your opponent's characters. Extremely, extremely good card. You have this law from the starter deck that allows you to discard cards in hand. As you're super aggressive, sometimes decks at the time would just pick up a full hand of cards. So this was a card that we could put in to punish those greedy opponents for that at the time. Then you have Beppo, who is another another Dawn recovery card. So he gets one on play if you're less Dawn than your opponent, which almost always will be in this deck. And then he does the same thing when he attacks as well. So he's very good to keep alive if you can. And then you have your power reduction cards. So those are Trafalgar Law, which was a promo at the time, gives minus 2,000 power on play. So your idea was you would play this on a 5,000 power character. So you play this for 4, minus 2,000 power there, 5,000 power character, so they're at 3,000, which is the perfect range for your leader ability. Then you minus the 3 Dawn that you used to play this 4 cost to get rid of their character, and then you get to play another character and get the Dawn back. So it was just setting your opponent back while also developing an aggressive game plan, and it's just a match made in heaven for me. It's so much fun. It's so satisfying to do, and I will be completely honest, it is awful to be on the other end of, because it feels like there is nothing you can do against this deck in the early game, and you're holding on for dear life, which can absolutely be the case sometimes. This deck is extremely, extremely fast. It will kill you before you get to 10 Dawn very consistently, especially as it gets into its powered up stages into the later sets of the game. So you get your Dawn Rampers, they get your Dawn back, so you can keep playing cards. You got your people to lower the power. And then you also have like these little Rush Zoros here, so they can attack the turn that they're played. So it's a sneaky little way to get an extra attack on an opponent who might not be expecting it. You have Gordon, he helps get rid of bigger threats because he gives minus 3,000 power for 1 cost for a 1 Dawn effect. Very, very good. And then you have Otama, which is just a 2,000 counter that also gives minus 2k. Usually you're only using this in a backup situation if you really, really need to get rid of something. But she's just flexible in that she's also very defensive, being a 2,000 power counter. Then at the time, so this was back in set 5, we also ran the starter deck combo of Ulti and Page 1. So what you could do is you could use your leader ability, you could put an Ulti out, and then you could also minus 1 Dawn and play a Page 1. And now you've just played 3 characters for your turn for the low, low price of 4 Dawn. You have gotten 12 Dawn worth of characters. That is absurd. It was a crazy, crazy fast start to any game and was really, really hard for people to overcome. This deck was good from the start. But this is how this deck showed up in set 5. So as we get to the next set in the game, another key problem that you'll notice with this deck is there's not really that much card draw. We have this queen blocker here that allows us to draw 2 and then trash 1. So it only goes even on cards in hand. It doesn't actually draw us cards. That's going to change as we go into the next set. So let me scroll down here and find my law list from OPO6. So things change a little bit in this set. Notably, Gecko Moria gets introduced to the game, becomes a completely game-warping card, game-warping leader. But Red Purple Law gets a little bit of love in this set. We get, again, 3 cards this time printed, all of them extremely, extremely good, and we'll get into why that is right now. The first and biggest pickup for the deck in OP6 was Vinsmoke Reiju. If you have less Dawn on your field than your opponent, and if you have 5 or less cards in hand, draw 2 cards. It is an absolute gift from the gods for this deck. Being an aggressive deck, it was really, really easy to run out of gas in set 5. Reiju really, really makes it, so if you even see 1, you're more likely to see multiple throughout the game because you're just drawing more cards. You have access to more cards. Being able to refill your hand was a problem with this deck, and this card completely solves it. And honestly, if we could run 10 more of these, we probably would, because, God, we could just use all of the card draw. We also get Raise Max, who is a functional clone copy of Gordon here, which was a promo that was expensive and really hard to acquire at the time. It only came in special player event decks that only came around like once or twice a year. So hard to get card. It was like $30 at the time. And if you didn't have a play set of these, they still wanted you to be able to have some sort of film support that has the same effect, which is minusing the power of opponent's characters for one cost. One cost, minus 3k power, super duper cheap and efficient. So now we have 8 minus 3k effects, which means we can get rid of bigger targets more consistently because we're also going to be seeing more of them. Still using the same package of ramp cards, so we're still using Ein, Sachi, and Penguin. We're still using Beppo. We're still using Kid. These are still the critical ways to get back Dawn in our deck. We just are trimming some of the fat away from the 05 list, right? So we're cutting down on the copies of Law that we're running. We get this new blocker, Shariah, so he can become the base power of the leader attacking us, which at the time, leaders attacking for big numbers was really good. So this was a very efficient way to only use one card to get out of an attack, which in an aggressive deck like Red Purple Law, you wanted as many cards as possible. So being able to just counter out of one attack for one card instead of having to spend like multiple to get out of like a 9,000 power attack, for example, extremely, extremely good. We up our numbers of rushers because, man, if having an attacker that can come out of nowhere, that's super cheap and is able to kill another character or get an extra damage in while they have a low amount of cards in hand. Extremely, extremely good. We also see a personal choice of mine, which was this 2-cost Sanji. A lot of decks at the time realized that Red Purple Law fizzled if you didn't get any cards, like you didn't get any Reijus. It was really, really easy to starve you out of cards very quickly by not attacking the leader ever and only ever attacking his characters. You starve them of the life cards so they don't get as much draw and they don't get to see as many cards on the middle turns of the game before we get to 10 Dawn. Sanji helps get rid of that because he becomes a very efficient attacker by dealing 1 damage to you, so you get to add that extra card to hand, which is really nice sometimes when they're trying to starve you, and then becomes a 7,000 power attacker, which is very aggressive into the opponent, asking them for at least 2 cards in hand usually becomes a real problem if the opponent does not deal with it right away. So just a little tech card that I chose to play at the time because we were seeing a lot of strats where they were trying to deny cards in hand. So this is what the deck kind of looked like evolved to in 06. This is probably the version of the deck that I played the most, if not the next version of the deck, which was OP7 and EB01. So let's load up 07. So this was in between, oh no, it was not in between. This is after we get EB01. So this was the first extra booster set, which printed some support to older archetypes. And of course, being the red-purple leader that we are, boy, do we get to reap the reward for these promo cards, or these special set cards being printed. Notably, the Bon Clay that was printed for the Purple Crocodile and Baroque Works decks is a just incredible, incredible card in this deck. It is another ramper that is able to copy the power of an opponent's character. So if they play an extremely big character, suddenly Bon Clay is swinging for a lot of power. And he's a ramper, and it gets the Dawn as active, which means you can use it right away, which is so good. And he's a 4-cost. We can play him off of our leader ability. Everything we would want in a card. We just get another gift from Bondi. Thank you so much, Bondi. Truly a blessing from the heavens for the deck. We actually start to cut down on the amount of non-counter cards that we run because having too many of these effects means that we just die sometimes because we can't block and counter out of swings. So we get a little bit stricter about the number of minus effects that we're running. I chose to run 6, which was kind of in between at the time. A lot of people were just on, like, you were either ran 4 or you ran 8, and you would adjust your deck in other ways. I didn't like that. I thought 6 was plenty, and it let me keep a couple of flex spots open. We also get this absolute bomb of a card in Kid Killer, which is a 4/5 rusher, so 4-cost can be played off of leader ability, so we get another rusher that can be played off of leader ability, and even better if our opponent only has 2 or less life, he gets a buff to 7,000 power with no Dawn investment, which is just a crazy efficient rush attacker, amazing for closing out games, just the absolute perfect finisher you could ever want in this deck. It is so good. And so hard to undersell this card and just how good it was for the deck at the time. This is where this deck really takes off and starts taking over the metagame, starts winning a lot of tournaments, seeing a lot of representation within the metagame. We have finally reached kind of like almost peak power here in set 7. We were trimming down our Shariahs. We only ran 2 Zoros because it's just completely outclassed by Kid and Killer. We're cutting down on Queen because we don't need as much card draw because just the card quality of the deck has increased so much. We get to take advantage of this Sanji that was printed because we can consistently have 2 fewer Dawn cards. This is a 6,000 power character blocker that we can play off of leader effect, or just for cheap if we happen to be at 2 or less than 2. I can't talk. 2 Dawns worth of difference from our opponent. So we have to be at 2 less Dawn than our opponent. That's what I was trying to say. Holy shit, figure it out. Yeah, this version of the deck was an absolute blast, man. It was so much fucking fun. It was so good. It was so good. It was so fast. Your card quality was just so amazing. An absolute powerhouse in the mid game. And if you just happen to run out of the gas in the latest parts of the game, or if they were able to fend you off a little bit in the early, sometimes you could struggle a little bit, but man, this deck was so good, and it was so hard to beat. By just controlling that board early and having an incredible finisher is kind of what pushed this deck towards real top tier status. And then, oh man, do we get to the absolute broken mess that is '08, which I don't even have in here, but I'm just going to bring up the 2 cards that matter, which will be Black Maria, which is printed for an Animal Pirates leader at the time, which is this card specifically right here, Black Maria. So if you have no other Black Marias on your field, once per turn you can just activate this effect from her. It's absurd. You can play her off of leader ability because she's 4 or less. She's a 2,000 power counter, so she's also just amazing to have in hand if you have extra copies of her. You only need 1 of her on the field because that's the only way you can activate her effect. She gets you 5 Dawn cards from your deck rested, just on your field to start. Then at the end of the turn, what you're supposed to do is return Dawn cards until you match your opponent's Dawn card amount. So if your opponent's at 5 and you use this on your 4 Dawn turn or whatever, use this on your 4 Dawn turn, or you're at 4 Dawn, your opponent's at 5, right? You go up to 9 rested. You have 9 total Dawn on your field, right? Then at the end of turn, you'll remove Dawn cards, whatever's left from your field, until you're at or below wherever your opponent is. What this essentially does is just make your leader ability free. It makes it so you don't actually have to minus Dawn that you're using. You can literally just activate her effect. She'll give you a bunch of free rested Dawn, and that's free Dawn that you can just put back for your leader ability. Absolutely absurd. If you happen to just be really aggressive with your leader ability in the first couple turns of the game, 1 Black Maria, and you're right back to where your opponent is in Dawn account. It just completely removes the downside and the build around kind of aspect of the deck. We also get, at the same time that we get this insane card, by the way, where if you just resolve it, your leader effect becomes free for almost the rest of the game, because what the hell are they going to do to remove this? You're removing every single character that they play every single turn. It's just insane. Insane card. Absolutely takes the deck completely over the top, makes it completely unfair. The deck deserves to be banned. It is what it is. I love this deck. I'm sad it's gone every single time, because I would just keep playing it forever if I could. But we got another card. This wasn't the only card that we got in this set, because why not, right? We also get Pudding. We get the 3-cost Pudding. So now, on our going first curve, we have another kind of Eustace Kid effect that allows us to put Dawn back onto our field once we remove it with our leader effect. So, yeah, they just kind of printed so much support for other leaders. Again, this was supposed to be for this Charlotte Pudding leader that they released at the same time as set 8 is when this all happened. And we actually here in the United States never got to play with set 8 cards in Red Purple Law. I never got to play with Black Maria. I only saw tournament footage of it from Japan, because that is the only place that it exists. Because that is the only scene it was ever legal in. It was only legal in Asia because they're ahead of us about 3 months in the schedule. We are currently in the process of catching up to them to be on track for the same release schedule in April 2026. So, yeah, Law just kind of ended up stealing all of the best cards as pirates do. It's thematic, I guess, whatever. But yeah, he just kind of stole the best cards printed for all of the new leaders in purple and red over 3 to 4 sets. And if you do that enough, turns out you get a pretty strong deck, especially when it centers all about being aggressive and removing a lot of your opponent's way to interact with your board in the early game. All right. That yawn means it's time to stop. So thanks for listening to my ramblings of a time long gone to One Piece card game.